Welcome to Lassoing Leadership. I'm your host, Jason Rogers.
And I'm the other host, Garth Nichols.
I am so excited for this episode, Ted Lasso. It's called Signs, Garth, and I can't wait to get into our show about it.
Well, why are you so excited about it?
I mean, this episode is the one that sets up so much that's to come. It's like, shall I say, a sign of something to come.
Ooh, yeah, nice one. I too really enjoyed this episode because I find like the focus is less on the pitch and more getting into the characters. And this, I think, is where the season really shines. And I know that you agree because before we hit record, you said these episodes are much more interesting to rewatch through the lens of leadership, which I totally appreciate as well.
Yeah, I mean, some of them stretch into 50 and 60 minutes long. And I remember watching season 3 the first time and thinking, couldn't they just cut these down? But rewatching it, I'm not sure they can cut out that much. There's so much going on and so much depth and so much, like literally so much leadership learning that can take place in these. So I really encourage our listeners to get back to them and enjoy them the same way we've been enjoying them. Perhaps after you've listened to this podcast, you might be compelled to do so. But let's jump in. And Garth, why don't you give them a flavor of what this episode's about? Give them a bit of a summary.
Yeah, sure thing. So as the season, this episode is called Signs. And as the season goes from bad to worst, Richmond tries to course correct against Man City. But off the pitch, everyone faces their own challenges. The team and Ted grapple with signs and omens, reflecting on their pasts and decisions in a context of leadership and growth. Namely, when Ted says to his staff, "I just don't get it."
Yeah.
He probably doesn't mean that literally, but maybe he should. And in the barrage of constructive criticism that follows, he's told the offense is bad, the defense is bad, the team relies way too much on Zava, their superstar. And so there's a lot of real questions here. And then enter Rebecca, who's growing increasingly unhinged by the run of losses and draws that have made Richmond drop back to 9th place, telling Ted telling her that they'll find a way to point the ship north again. And it's that really funny scene where everyone's trying to find north and no one really does. And the scene doesn't offer a lot of reassurance. But this episode is so much more. And I know you'll have something to say about Ted being shocked to discover that it's Henry doing the bullying and another impending panic attack too.
Yeah, a good summary, Garth. I mean, there's so much to this. You bring up, when Ted says, "I don't get it," and I think it strikes the heart of sometimes our leadership fears, honestly, where we don't understand what's going on. Sometimes we don't know which way is north. We've lost our vision. And I think that is all really symbolic of leadership struggles that we may face in our leadership. And you also left out my guy, Roy, and his revenge monologue. It's brilliant and terrifying. And I wasn't sure when it was going to end or how far it was going to go, but that was something else, man.
Yeah, and there's another key. Well, there's two other things. I think we've referenced before that Zava is a real disruptor in the team, and I think that's why they've lost their North Star a little bit and can't find it. But there's another piece in this episode. It might be easy to gloss over because one, it comes from Higgins, and two, it's only ever mentioned. I mean, it's less than 3 seconds, really. But it's when Higgins brings up the possibility of firing Ted. Rebecca kind of dismisses it, but that's like the thin edge of the wedge, I think.
Too true. I mean, Garth, is there some undercurrent throughout this season, will Ted go? And they're really starting to draw that into our mind. So will it be him or, will he be ousted?
Yeah, cue the foreboding music at this point. If we had a tech person, like a sound person on this podcast, they'd be like, dun, dun, dun.
Maybe in season 7, right? We'll figure that out. But how could you let Ted go after that epic monologue that he delivers about in the brief final moments of the episode? It's one of the all-time sports speeches. And to quote him, he says, "To believe in yourself, to believe in one another, that's fundamental to being alive. If you can do that, if each of you can truly do that, nobody can rip that apart." As he rips up the believe sign and throws it away. And he says, "See you Monday." Basically a mic drop.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And I've said this before on the podcast, but I've been deep since March Madness. I've been deep into like watching coaches, and I've been watching Coach Prime about Neon Deion Sanders in Colorado and all that stuff. And this is at the fundamental piece. He like at Jackson State University, the field, he renamed the field to the I Believe field. And he has that on the back of his jerseys, like I believe, and it's critical to that. And yeah, absolutely amazing mic drop.
Nice job. There might be a show in that documentary. There might be a lassoing leadership show in that documentary. What do you think, Garth?
I don't know.
Nice job in the summary. There's tons more to jump in on, so let's get it going.
Yeah. What listener feedback can you tell us about?
Hey, listen, I'd like to thank all of our listeners for ongoing support. It doesn't seem like I could go anywhere without somebody saying they've listened to one or more episodes, which is really nice. We were in the Case newsletter a couple of weeks ago, which was really great. So thanks to Case for that shout out. We moved to over 10,000 impressions over a 30-day period. Still don't know what that means, but I like the number 10,000. And I think that's great. And, I was in a big meeting in Edmonton, actually, at the Legislative Building. And there's a whole bunch of people who are involved in education. Many of them had seen the show. And namely, a head of school from North Point, a guy named Brent DeVos, came up and gave us huge praise. He said he loves the length of the episodes. He loves leadership lessons. And he's taken on some of them in his own leadership to continue to grow and evolve. And Brent is an incredible leader in his own right. So it was really, really nice to hear from him that he's taken a few of these on.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Brent.
Yeah,
I too like 10,000 impressions. And then you just said that we have quite a few subscribers as well, which is great. Which is great too. So people are listening, people are liking it. So keep it up.
Right. So Garth, it'll come no surprise. We're going to move into favorite characters, and I hate to,
yes,
but it'll come as no surprise. My favorite character in this episode is Roy's former girlfriend.
What?
Yeah, Keely. I mean, in this episode, we see Keely lean into being the boss. She doesn't get there by being commanding. She actually gets there by being coachable. And that's a throwback to our episode with Quinn that came out at the very end of April. We see it when she needs to release her friend. We all know that she wasn't going to work out, even from the first days, but sometimes we have to learn these lessons the hard way in our leadership, and I think Keely truly did. As the episode ends, we also catch a glimpse of Keely thanking her friend and new love interest for her insights, and I think it's a really touching moment where Keely steps back and says thank you. So, it's not Roy, but it is Roy's former girlfriend. So, second time in the history of the show, but I had to go that way today.
Wow. I'm surprised because for me, Roy was a bit of a standout in this one. I didn't choose him as my favorite character, but I'm surprised, Jason. All right, for me, like women rule this episode, I think, because my favorite character is Rebecca, and not because of anything in particular that she does, but because of her arc in the episode. Because the way this episode brings to life her as a leader, her ability to find balance or not. She's deeply troubled by a recent meeting with a psychic, especially since the predictions are unfolding in real life. She inexplicitly holds on to a green matchbook that she got from Sam's restaurant. She stumbles into like a really awkward, kind of awful meeting with her ex-boyfriend, who's kind of boasting that he now has a fiance and all these things. And I don't know. I think it's this balance of what's going on in her personal life and then how she shows up still as a leader.
Yeah.
And so this encounter with her ex, though normally such an encounter would merely annoy her, Rebecca is now seriously unnerved because of all the other things swimming in her brain from the psychic. It prompts her to question whether she might also become a mother and the possibility she explores with a doctor, more interest in football than fertility, really. And only to be disheartened when there's confirmation that she can't become a mother. Like these are real, big decisions that she's grappling with. And Rebecca's story, diverges from her typical aspirations for romance without expressing a desire for motherhood. And I think what's happening here is that the narrative feels misaligned with the Rebecca that's been previously portrayed. Mm-hmm. She's now increasingly disconcerted by the relationships going on around her. And she feels like she's lacking. And her reactions, they're bolder, they're a bit more aggressive. They seem uncharacteristic, and it's driven by this like psychic piece. And although this storyline might resolve in a compelling manner, it currently seems inconsistent with the Rebecca that viewers have come to understand. And I love that about this episode because you're seeing her struggle. Yeah.
Garth, I don't know if I've heard you speak with such passion about any other character yet in the course of this entire show. I think you're in love, my friend. That was powerful. Okay, but I can't help but agree with you. I mean, uh, but in the end, I was actually kind of surprised you didn't pick Higgins.
No, how come?
Well, I just think Higgins shines in the moment, when Rebecca's talking to him about psychics. He
Mm.
artfully tells Rebecca that, even if the clairvoyant isn't right, they've encouraged Rebecca to better understand what she wants out of her own future. And this in itself is a huge gift. And he just comes in just a bit like an oracle in that moment and shares that. And
I
I just think Higgins is remarkable in this episode, but I can tell that he's not going to stand up to Rebecca. Anything else you want to talk
yeah.
about, Rebecca? It
Well,
seems like you're
yeah, I
on.
mean, like just that point. Like if you think back to season one, she could have gotten rid of Higgins,
Yeah,
but she has nurtured that relationship. She sees the value of him.
right.
So I'm sticking with Rebecca here, and I'm going to go right into my leadership lessons because it kind
Go
of
for
builds
it.
on
Go for it.
builds on this. Because leaders, you have to understand, leaders can be inconsistent with their ability to have balance, and leaders are human. We are human. We're constantly managing our own personal lives, personal ambitions, emotions, desires, just like Rebecca in the show. And I think what she demonstrates is that leaders can have many, sort of masks or many roles that they're trying to play. And really
Right.
effective leaders, in my mind, I think really effective leaders, like Rebecca shows, knows when to put on the right mask, knows when to play the right role, and when to be vulnerable. They know when to wait and have patience, and they know when to share and be vulnerable in moments.
Nice.
It also, like great leaders know when they have when they put too much stake into something, be it advice, be it a psychic, be it a
Yep.
mentor, and when to follow their own path. And your point about Higgins is bang on. Listening to others and sort of getting regrounded. But there's more to come on that in our next breakdown of the next episode, which is called Sunflowers, because there's a lot there in terms of how Rebecca responds. But I think that this is a great example that what we're watching in this episode is a leader learning and gaining resilience. We're watching a leader learning and gaining how to lean into her team and learning how to be a bit flexible in different moments. So I think it's a great leadership lesson watching her struggle and come out the other side.
Well, and I think you've hit on a couple things, Garth. I think first and foremost, it's timing. I think understanding timing in leadership
Mm,
is really, really important. The second thing you hit on throughout that diatribe is about nurturing those around you to better support you in your leadership. And I think
yeah,
we see that time and again with Rebecca, and I think that's exactly why she shines. Do
yeah.
you want to sum up that leadership lesson for us, Garth?
Yeah, I'll try. I think leaders must acknowledge and manage not only their emotions, but also understand the emotions of those around them to foster a supportive environment, like when to hold back and when to be vulnerable. So that's the first point. I think the second point is developing personal resilience can help leaders withstand sort of crisis conditions, bounce back from setbacks. Like key practices, including managing personal energy, taking time away too, maintaining a positive outlook, finding a sense of purpose or refinding your why, going back to your why. I think that's so important. So yeah, those are just some things that came up for me about Rebecca. But hey, what do you have for our leadership lesson, Jason? Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay, wow, Garth, I'm totally inspired by your observations. I'm totally blown away. I wonder if how Ted feels when his revelation that his son is a bully. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm not actually sure what the lesson is here, but let me take a shot. This is for leaders' introspection. Why are we so impacted by our family and what's going on with our spouse, extended family, and our children? I tell you from personal experience, when our kids struggle, we face emotional such shame, sadness, disbelief, and they can lead to anxiety, depression, or anger. It's complicated, isn't it, Garth?
Yeah, I think so. I think that you raised a really good point about recognize, I'm not sure how much Ted shares with Rebecca about his son. And so again, there's that interplay of people are going through different things, like really heavy things,
Yeah,
serious things.
yeah,
And both of them are about family. And remember, season one was a lot about family. And
yeah.
so I think it does bring to light how do we behave appropriately and sustainably, going back to like Danny Bauer, right? How do we do
Mhm.
leadership sustainably? So yeah. All right, let's get on to renaming the episode. What do you got, Jason?
Okay, I'm gonna go with you probably enjoy this because there may be a Pearl Jam reference in it, but yield. Okay.
The yield
Now,
sign. I love it.
yes, the yield sign. Okay, here's where it comes from. A yield. Well, it's a sign. Okay, so the show's called Signs. And in the episode, we see how leaders are yielding to countless other influences in their lives
Mm,
and their leadership. Zava, hardly talked about him, didn't we? But I mean, he
yeah.
yields to the overall performance of the team by leaving and taking his rock star shadow with him. Keely yields to mentorship advice from her friend. Rebecca yields to greater purpose in life, having a
Mm,
family perhaps. Ted yields to his family needs, or he starts to,
yeah.
and they all read the sign that is ahead of them, and they are yielding.
That's interesting. That's so interesting. I love that idea of yielding in the context of what you've talked about, with Keeley, and even what I was talking about with Rebecca too, and what you brought up with Higgins, like yielding to that advice. It's interesting. For me, I would rename this episode "Reading Between the Lines."
Nice.
I was thinking about reading between the signs, but reading between the lines because there are signs, but they deserve some contemplation. Don't take them at face value, right? These signs, and Rebecca struggles with the green matchbook, these signs require decoding. And I think as leaders, we want to have some patience and really think when, when parents are coming after us at school, I shouldn't say coming after, but when parents are
Yeah.
asking us questions or when there's something that happens at the school that really impacts the whole community, we don't want to react. We want to respond. And so I think reading between the lines, it sort of implies have some contemplation and take some time to make sure you're not just reading face value.
Love it. Love it. There's a lot to
Yeah.
be learned there, Garth.
Yeah.
Nice retitle.
Yeah.
You know what? Why don't you move on to our leadership challenge? Let's close it up with that. What do you got for our listeners this time? I can't wait.
All right. I think I've got a good one here. I think I
Okay.
got a good one. So
Okay, let's have it.
I'm going to challenge our listeners to figure out what are the signs that we are giving to our people, not just that we're reading, but what are the signs that we give to our people? And when you reflect on what signs you're giving, what's the tone, language, the words that you're using, what are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? Are you decoding some of the things that you say from the perspective of those who you lead? Right? Communication is a two-way street. It's intention. It's also impact. So think about what are you saying about your vacation policy? What are you saying about sick days? What are you saying about taking risks? What are you saying about performance reviews? What are you saying about their everyday? What are you saying about when you say, "Hey, let's do lunch"? Try and decode that from other people's perspectives. So my challenge is to consider and even check for understanding of those that you lead on just one issue or one challenge or maybe even one policy by asking the question, what do you hear when I speak about this? What do you hear when I speak about vacation policy? What do you hear when I speak about taking risks? What do you hear when I praise you? What do you hear when I support you? What do you hear when I challenge you? I think that would be a really interesting exercise. What do you got, Jason?
Garth, first of all, congratulations. That's near perfect, partner. I
Oh,
think
buddy,
not only does
thanks,
that
Jason.
show authenticity, but it also shows vulnerability. And I really hope that a leader or two out there takes up this challenge. I can hardly wait to ask your questions. So thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, no worries. Here's mine, and it comes from Zava's farewell speech. He
Oh,
gives
yeah,
the one he
nice.
gives via video to the team, and he announces that he's going to spend time with his family
And
and
his
his
avocado
avocado
farm.
farm. He says, and I quote, "If you put your energy in the things you truly love, the universe puts its things back into you." Okay? You're welcome. Leaders in work and life, what do you truly love? Once you've answered that question, today, get out there and put your energy into that and pay attention to how it feels and what the universe puts back into you.
Ooh, all right, listeners. You got two good choices there, Jason. That is great. It's a reminder, like especially in the spring. I know you just got a whole bunch of snow. It's been raining in Toronto for a couple of days. Let's go with the positive one, right? Let's
100%.
put our energy back into the things that we love. So that's a great one. So thank you so much. And hey, listeners, if you are accepting one of these challenges, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear how it goes for you. And as always, like, subscribe, do all the things, tell your friends about us. Because we still have this delusion. Now again, we can say it's delusional, delusion that we might get Jason Sudeikis on here. So keep listening and keep giving us the feedback. Thanks so much. Jason, why don't you take us home?
Until next time, keep leading the lasso way. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.